Peace and greetings. What's good? It's your girl Naya here from the Metaphysical Mommy, and I'm back for another Vlogmas video. And I'm behind on my Vlogmas videos, but it is what it is. I'll play catch up this weekend. It's been kind of a hectic week, but without further ado, the topic of this one is going to be about when reading the court cards, like, when should you read them as another person, or when should you read them as personality traits, when you're reading something. So one thing that helps me, and I'm just going to talk about it through my lens and how it works for me. When you are casting your cards for a reading, the most important thing for me is the question that's asked. So if I'm reading for somebody other than myself, and I'm reading, let's say, based on a relationship, or based on, let's say, career or work environment, relationships and love, then when the court cards come out, I typically see that as the other person. So I'll read it from that context first. If it doesn't feel right, this is kind of when the intuition kind of comes in. Sometimes it'll suggest that, because if there's a plethora of court cards, then that just seems like there's a lot of people in the mix. So there could tend to be like a little bit of a chaotic kind of nature when that happens. Again, in that context of reading for somebody in a situation that's dealing with other people, it's more than likely going to resonate that it's those other people. If you're reading for a client like that you regularly read for, and you know their, like, let's say their sun sign or something of that sort, and there's a court card next to a card that could represent their sun sign, then that court card or that major arcana card, for me, is I'm going to end up honing in on that and going, okay, that's your energy. You know what I mean? And this is how you're coming off in this situation with these other people. So that's one way I approach it. And then another way, I'll look at it now. If I'm doing a reading for myself, if I'm doing a spiritual reading for myself, or a daily reading for myself, more than likely I'm going to read it as an aspect of my personality first, or energy that I should be embodying first. So in those cases where the reading is much more focused on the individual, then I will read it as personality, or the energies of that personality. So this was a topic or question asked by, I don't know if they want their name to be put out there, but one of my friends that I have on Facebook, and one of the groups that I'm in, and they were just curious. And also something else too, I found that with practice, I tend to be able to notice it more, like notice when it applies and when it doesn't apply. Usually there's a combination of the two. So when I first started trying to figure that particular aspect out, I would just read it in both ways. I would try to read it in both ways, and with the practice of trying to read it in both ways and going, okay, let me read it this way first. If these are other people, this is what's happening. And then kind of go back to point and be like, okay, now if this is you, this is perhaps what's happening with you. And I find that when I do it in both approaches, that there's a clear kind of story that gets told that still seems to resonate with the person that I'm reading for, especially in the cases of there being, other people in the situation and things like that. I still do that. I still, in my head at least, like, now I don't have to verbalize it out loud at first, but in my head I can go, okay, this seems more appropriate. And like I said, it's kind of a combination of of kind of practical application and practicing to see, you know, what it could be like in one context and what it can be like in another context, but also the intuitive hits that you get that says, does this feel right? Does this feel like what the cards are trying to say? I think where it gets muddled, whether or not the court cards represent other people or aspects of the personality, is when you do not ask any questions and you just throw some cards down and you read the cards. If you don't have that clear kind of question in your head, that makes it more difficult to quite figure out, because there's no context to go off of. When you have the context to go off of, it makes it way more manageable, I think. At least in this particular case, it makes it way more manageable. Also, something else that for me that I like to do is I like to look at the court cards in their astrological respect, and that gives me overarching energy. So be it personality or be it another individual, the energy of, let's say, the King of Pentacles is going to be kind of a fixed, steady, grounded kind of energy. So if let's say that's the only court card that comes up in that spread, we'll know that the people that you're dealing with, or what the energy that you need to embody, is that of someone who is stable and on top of their game, whether it be financially or with, you know, taking care of your body, or you know, how you value things. But the Taurus energy of the Knight of Pentacles, I'm sorry, the King of Pentacles, and the referencing the Rider-Waite-Smith here, would be that of a steady, mature individual. Okay, and of course there's nuances to all the zodiac signs, so of course in context with the reading and all that stuff, you can play it out. But even just using that technique, I think you can try and figure out, because if that person comes to you and they feel pretty grounded and they're talking about a chaotic situation or another individual that's causing a little bit of chaos and ruckus, then you know that that energy is not of that other person. That's the energy of your client. Or if they're coming to you and they're a hot mess and they're kind of, you know, energetically all over the place, and they're bringing, you know, and then you know that that energy is like probably the other person that they're kind of depending on, or somebody who's dependable and things like that. So, you know, that's the easiest way for me to describe like how I approach it and how it makes sense for me to differentiate whether or not the court cards are representing other individuals or the person in question, personality traits, or the way I like to say it as energetic frequencies of any individual that might be pertaining to that reading. So anyways, I hope that helps. And I'm gonna go ahead and leave this Vlogmas video right here. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. For those of you that don't know me, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. And I will bring you some more tarot goodness. And you know, I'm gonna keep this Vlogmas up, you guys. Don't worry. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace and blessings.